everyone. Today we're going to read an article to figure out what the central idea of it is. Now, the central idea is what the article or the reading is mostly about. One hint that will always help us is going to be the title. So, the title that this reading is from is New York City 1869. So, we know our central idea before we even read is going to be focused on New York City in the year of 1869. We need to read to find out what major event happened at this time. As John A. Roebling was designing his bridge, life in New York and Brooklyn was teetering between old and new. No bridges existed between the two cities. Travelers used one of the 13 ferry boats that crossed the East River night and day. From the river, the spire of the Trinity Church in New York was the tallest landmark to ships sailing into New York Harbor. So if I stop here, I'm going to realize that I've already read about this person who is designing a bridge to make life easier between New York and Brooklyn. They don't need to use all of these ferries. It seems like that's going to be an important concept. I would, of course, continue reading it to find out why. People mostly traveled by horses and carriages and on sailing ships, but the use of railroads and steamships was growing. Communication was by mail or telegraph. Just a few years earlier, however, a telegraph cable had been laid across the Atlantic Ocean. In less than a decade, Alexander Graham Bell would invent the telescope. All over the world, new and amazing engineering feats were being accomplished. The Suez Canal in Egypt, Mount Sunni Tunnel, the longest railroad tunnel in France, and the Transcontinental Railroad across the United States. We are seeing lots of huge inventions taking place. The idea of a bridge across the East River first gained support from civic leaders in Brooklyn. In 1869, Brooklyn and New York were independent cities. Brooklyn was the third largest and fastest growing city in the country and a major manufacturing center. Brooklyn residents saw the bridge as a way to expand commercially, as it offered better access to New York markets. So for Brooklyn, this bridge is going to help them get into the New York market. We have these two separate cities, and this bridge is bringing them together, is what I'm realizing at this point. New Yorkers, meanwhile, saw the bridge as a way to relieve overcrowding in their city. So the positive for those in New York is it's relieving this overcrowding feeling that they have. Thanks in part to how the Brooklyn Bridge created the first successful link between the two cities, an expanding metropolis emerged. By 1898, the modern city of New York, consisting of its five boroughs of Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, was created. So now we're seeing that by this bridge being created, it wasn't just convenience. It helped for overcrowding of the little New York City area. It helped for market for them to be able to get to the markets and expand commercially. And it created a metropolis between all of these five boroughs where they were connected into a city area. So the bridge was really important. And if I think of the central idea, it really took the old New York and the new. The old New York, where New York City was this little entity and everyone was separate, and it connected it. And that became the new New York City boroughs. Um, so I would say that if we read this, our central idea was going to focus on the fact that life in New York was teetering between the old and the new. The bridge brought all of this together and made it a new New York with many more possibilities. And that is how we would read to find what the central idea is in an article.